Hi there and welcome to Larkin Design. I'm Theresa Moxley and welcome to Project Life 2016, and I wanted to show you today my 2016 Project Life album and sort of the direction that I'm taking in that. You've already seen a couple of my process videos for my memory keeping strategy this year, which has been to use the Becky Higgins Project Life app for creating my 12 by 12 layouts and then housing them in one of the Project Life albums. And so I had taken a few weeks to make the decision about what kind of album I wanted to use this year. And if you saw, I posted earlier about my 2015 album, and that album that I had been using for 2015 is a We Are Memory Keepers album with the window in the top that's no longer being offered, has been discontinued. So this year was a year that I had to change albums, and if you watched that video, then you heard me talk about my album strategy. One of the things that is important to know is that if you are scrapbooking on a regular basis, whether it's weekly or monthly or every 2 or 3 months, it's important to have a good home for your layouts and a place where you feel comfortable storing them and happy that they are in a good place and that they're able to be pulled out and looked at periodically. And I also acknowledge that selecting albums can be one of the biggest challenges in our industry and in our craft, because it is difficult to choose good albums and not break the bank. And it's also hard to find good albums if you want to keep a consistency across your album collection. And I have been creating scrapbooks now for 12, almost 13 years, and I can tell you that the types of albums that I like to use has evolved over the years. So if you're just starting out and you think, I'm going to start out with this type of album and I'm going to use this type of album for the rest of my life, I don't know that that's exactly realistic or not. Some people do, and some people change out their albums and make all their albums consistent at one point or another. And that's certainly one way to manage, all the albums throughout all the years. I was just listening to Becky Higgins' Periscope with Jen today. If you follow Becky Higgins on Instagram and on Periscope, then you know that she's in Kansas this week working with Jen on a photo rescue project. And so they talked about the numbers of albums over the years that we create and that we collect. And I have not gone into my closet yet and counted how many albums I have, but I do know that it's probably in the 30 range. I probably have about 30 albums that are, some of them are completed, some of them are not completed, considered complete. I have a thing about considering something complete in the scrapbooking world. My personal opinion on completing a scrapbook is that if I ever come to a point where I feel like I'm caught up or that the story is complete, that's the day that I pass away. So I don't tend to like that word complete at all, and I'm okay if not every album is complete. I'm okay if you look through my albums and you see a couple of pages that are just photos and no embellishments with it. That's like totally okay, because we are in process in this life thing, And the day that everything is completed is the day that we take our last breath. So that's just my own personal perspective. If you're, following along with Becky and, you're wondering, oh no, I wonder what other people think about the whole word being complete. Our lives are not complete until the day we take our last breath, and our scrapbooks are not complete. And at that point, you know what? They will be complete, and not everything will be finished when we pass. And that's something to be okay with. Absolutely something to be okay with. So anyway, here is my 2016 album, and I went with, for the next 3 years, I went with Becky Higgins' Project Life albums. This is one of them, and hang on, I'll go get the other two. I chose this one for another year, and this one for another year. And I figure, 3 years is enough time for me to be happy with these albums and be happy using them, and then I'll be ready for another change. And that's okay too. And these will probably look really nice next to my We Are Memory Keepers albums. And before I use the We Are Memory Keepers albums, I like to use the American Crafts. I think they're Basics albums. If you've been scrapbooking for more than a few years, or a few months, you're probably familiar. They're the ones that are just plain craft fronts, and they have the fabric binding. So that's sort of, and one day I'll open my scrapbook closet and I'll show you where I have my albums, so you can see what that looks like to have different series of albums next to each other. And I'll tell you that just like our scrapbooks are filled with unique product, and our scrapbooks are kind of a time capsule for scrapbooking products themselves, right? Because that's so much a part of what we're doing, and we can see a progression in our scrapbooking products. In 2004 and 2005, the products I was using looked completely different than today, and my style of layouts was completely different. And it's okay if our albums follow progression right along with that. And I think for that reason, I'm okay with having a combination of different styles of albums on those shelves. It's totally okay. Nothing has to look all the same. Our layouts don't have to look all the same, because our lives, chances are our lives don't look all the same from year to year to year. So anyway, this is 2016, and so if you've been following, then these are layouts that you have seen, on my YouTube channel and on my blog that you've seen me create. But I just wanted to do a quick flip through so you could see how they landed in the album, and how the Project Life app is flowing for me in terms of placing it in the album. And this is fun to actually put them in here and then sort of walk through and sort of process how these layouts look on a weekly basis, or on, however it is that I'm creating them, how they look actually in the album. And I can't say enough positive things about the Project Life app and the quality of the prints that are coming from the app, and how, excuse me, how these layouts look in the album makes me really happy. And I do feel a sense of accomplishment for this year. One thing I noticed is that I have this blank spot right here, and what might look better in terms of how the album flows might look better to put this page here because it sort of stands by itself, right? And I know that's sort of the dilemma. If you don't always do 2-page layouts or you don't always do 1-page layouts, what do you do with the back of the page like this? You know, what do you do with this? And to me, this is simple enough to just put in a piece of pattern paper. Pick your favorite piece of pattern paper that you don't want to cut and put that right there. If you want to make sure that it coordinates with this, then absolutely, you know, make sure it coordinates with the facing page, but it doesn't have to, you know. It's totally okay. So I'll go back later and add something there. If it didn't have these stitches on it, those are stitches from that Today word. If it didn't have those stitches on it, I might just leave it like that, you know. That's okay. Or a plain white, if you wanted to keep it really simple and really uncluttered, because that is one thing that I will say, is that even though I have embellished these layouts on top, they still look really simple, and still the things that need to be said in these layouts still jumps out at you. And then here's a traditional layout that fits in so well, you know, that just goes seamlessly from there to there. And if you didn't know what the Project Life app was and how that was created from the Project Life app, you might not even know. To the normal, ordinary observer looking through my album, you wouldn't even realize that there was a difference there between that style of scrapbooking and that style of scrapbooking. I love seeing that together and love seeing these in the album. And so this is like, I'm really excited about this, right? This is the most recent layout, and that's sort of where it ends for now. But that makes me really excited to see these layouts. This is this year so far, and to see how this is coming together, and it'll be interesting to follow through the year. I don't know that this whole year will fit in this one album, and that's okay too. But it'll be interesting to come to the end, you know, when the layouts get to here, and then they start bowing over. That's when I usually know that an album is full. And so it'll be interesting to get to that point and then do another walkthrough with you and see how that looks. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you've enjoyed sort of for 2 days just looking at my albums and how I approach that part of the memory keeping process. I hope that's been helpful for you, and I'm just thankful that you're watching and supporting. And please feel free to comment and at the bottom. Tell me what you're using, what works for you, what albums have been your favorites over the years, and let me know if you're using the Project Life app and putting them in your albums. You know, how is that going for you? I'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And I just appreciate you watching, and thanks for following along. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.